to the Homebrew Crew. I'm Tony. This is Sean, and as always, we are here to help your homebrewed D&D campaigns be the best that they can possibly be. Today, we're just going to be having a little bit of a DM powwow, just me and my buddy Sean here. I ran into something this past week that I couldn't quite handle and didn't know how to come up with, and was curious. Maybe we can talk it through. What do you think?
Yeah, and I actually play in this campaign as well. We actually play in each other's campaigns if that wasn't established, and I was actually part of the problem, admittedly. There were 5 of us, I believe, and there were 5 Grum. And initially
different colored with different poisons.
Yeah, exactly. And initially the combat encounter didn't seem like a lot. And when you jump into combat, you want to be prepared. But I think, and this happens in a lot of campaigns, you get into this mentality where, I don't want to use this spell, or I don't want to use this ability because I want to save it.
That's my 6th level spell slot. I can't use that. If I use that, then I won't be able to do something cool later.
Right. So you end up, taking out your toothpick or whatever you have in your inventory, and
there was a lot of fondue sticking.
Yeah,
honestly, it was. I had these 5 grung that were all coming after you guys. One that was lobbing arrows at you from afar with poisons on them that made you do stupid things like jump up and down and all sorts of stuff with it. But
you had one that was healing.
Yeah, the one that was in the back healing, wasn't moving at all.
Right.
So you guys were, kind of staying your ground, And the problem was you would come in and you would attack it, but instead of using a spell or something more offensive, like the rogue didn't even do any sneak attacks the entire time. It was just, I'd like to come in and, stab it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You did, what'd you roll? Okay, 16. Okay, it hits. But now we're looking at 1d4 damage with the little knife that you had.
Yeah.
Whereas these things were doing, okay, Constitution saving throws. You've got, 15 points of piercing damage. Make a con save. Okay, you take another 6 points of poison damage. And you guys were what, level 4?
Mm-hmm. And then, you realize about 30 or 40 minutes in, none of your opponents have died yet.
Right. And at the same time, you're sitting there as a DM going, well, I don't really want to kill my players, but I feel like it's going to happen if they don't do something. How do I make it obvious to them that they need to speed it up and do something a little bit more than stabbing? That was the question.
Yeah, and if you've ever had this situation before, you may have even heard your players say amongst the party members or to you, but I don't want to use this yet because there might be a fight later. Players shouldn't have this mentality. Players should treat every encounter as if their life is on the line.
I always do. It kind of helps if your character doesn't really care if you.
This is true, but not all characters are like this.
No, obviously not. But the thing is with it, and I think the only way that we got through it is making it obvious by really, really laying into the players at that point. And I hate to put it that way, but it's just kind of like, okay, if you're going to sit there and do things where, you're only poking at it. Okay, maybe it's time that this thing is going to heal every time you poke at it.
Right.
Maybe it's, just try to make it more dangerous. That was the only thing I could possibly do with it,
Yeah, you kind of have to create a sense of urgency in your combat encounters. Because, the problem is once, they don't want to start using their abilities and the combat counter goes long, everyone begins to get a little irritated and, they keep asking like, hey, is it dead yet? How many more hit points does this have? And everyone gets frustrated and then they still wonder why it's not going fast and they still refuse to use their abilities. So you kind of have to take control and take the reins there and really show this, who's the boss of this encounter.
Right, and you do have the ability as the DM to lessen the hit points of the monsters and everything else too, or increase them if you need to. But at the same time, you kind of want to have fun DMing too. So if you've got these monsters to do this cool stuff, you want to be able to do that to your players.
Oh yeah.
Let's just make it challenging and interesting, or else it's just, spank and tank every single time you do it.
Right, and so, it depends. It's going to depend on the different situations. I mean, if you know that you have like a bajillion more fights to go, maybe then cut down the health, or maybe then do that. Or if you know that there isn't, then do more damage. I mean, or just toss in some abilities that'll kind of throw your party off. The worst thing that happens is when people begin to get bored and impatient, or things like that happen, and you really want to keep them engaged.
Yeah, I think we had a strategy last time with it. I had one of the guys lay down field of thorns that was there, so you guys weren't rushing in to go attack the guy. There was actually strategy set up with it. It's just, you know, it sometimes happens that your players decide to stay in that corner. You know what I mean? You kind of have to make it dangerous enough for them to move out of that corner, you know. Put, you know, spawn another monster right behind them. Do a trap that goes off if they don't move within a certain period of time. You just have to do something to get them off their asses.
Right. Or, I mean, you can even work it in your story. I mean, like, if you're going to go and save, you know, the most important noble person of this village, and the house is on fire and you only have a limited amount of time, remind them, like, oh, by the way, that house is beginning to collapse a little bit, you know. Even little things like that will kind of get them going and like, okay, fine, I'm gonna go and use all my cool stuff now.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and that's the reason why people make characters, so you can go and do this cool stuff rather than holding back.
Absolutely. And you know, it's your players are really your lifeblood of your game, so you want them to have fun and enjoy themselves with it, but don't be afraid to give them a little poke.
Exactly. That way they can poke you back.
That's absolutely true. Well, I think that kind of handles my little situation in question with it. Maybe we'll talk again next week. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, because in D&D they're going to give you just something else to deal with, so that's absolutely going to happen.
Well, folks, remember the best campaigns are always the ones that are home brewed, so until next time,
Keep
brewing.